Salvete discipuli. Hello, 8th grade. So everyone is remote this week. So this video is for all my 8th graders, not just my normally fully remote students. So hello, everyone. So this week, since we are remote, I'm doing this little video grammar lesson for you guys for the grammar from stage 8, which we are starting this week. So if you haven't yet, please also make sure that you are checking out the stage 8 vocabulary and spending time this week studying the new vocab words so you can have those down. And then your assignment this week is to translate the model sentences, which I advise doing after this lesson because the grammar is going to apply to that. So let's jump in to our lesson for today. All right, so the grammar for stage 8 is introducing you guys to accusative plurals. So we are going back to nouns. We've been working with verbs for what seems like forever. We've been really focused on verbs for the last few chapters. So we got to give our nouns some attention now. It's been a while. So we're going to do a little bit of review first, and then we'll kind of jump into the new accusative plural endings for our nouns because we've only seen accusative singular so far. So just to quickly refresh your memories, noun cases will show the function of a noun in the sentence. Now we've only learned 2 noun cases so far, the nominative case, which we use for the subject of a sentence, and the accusative case, which is used for the direct object, or as we've recently learned, the object of a preposition as well. Now, direct object is going to be sort of the main function of the accusative case as we see it in our textbooks. Just keep in mind that if you see a preposition that is immediately followed by an accusative noun, that's going with the preposition. It's not a direct object. So it's a little bit different function there. But typically, we will see our accusative case endings for direct objects. So as I said, this chapter we're learning accusative plurals. So we're going to start seeing some plural direct objects. So with our cases, there are more cases. There's 5, sort of 6 total. I think we'll be learning one more case this year, I believe, maybe 2. But for our different cases, the noun endings will change, right? So they're going to have a different ending if it's a nominative and if it's an accusative. And then we also have singular and plural endings. So the endings of a noun tells you its function, but also tells you whether the noun is singular or plural. So we do have a little bit of remnants of this in English, right? Typically nouns, to make them plural in English, will add an S, so the ending does change a little bit in English. And we do actually have some instances of endings, nouns changing, or for us more pronouns will change based on their function. So like I see a dog versus the dog sees me. So we've got the pronoun changes its form based on whether it's a subject or a direct object. So we do have little bits of this in English. In Latin, it's just a bit more, always in Latin. So just keep that in mind. So the endings are what we're focusing on for nouns. Always look at your word endings in general. So to refresh our mind for the nominative case, if you remember, we have our nouns separated into 3 different groups. We've got first declension. So our first declension nouns are the ones that in the singular will end in an A. So puella, femina, a lot of our female names, Metella, Melissa, Ancilla. So we have all of our words that end in A in that nominative singular are those first declension nouns. And then the plural form for the nominative is AE. We haven't seen a ton of nominative plurals, but they have popped up in our story. So just make sure you're keeping an eye on that, making sure you're paying attention to whether your subject is singular or plural. And the verb endings do help you with that a bit as well. So pay attention to that. So first declension in the nominative, we have those nouns that end in A in the singular and AE in the plural. Second declension are those nouns that end in US in the singular, and that will change to a long I in the plural. So words like servus or coquus, caecilius, the names, right? A lot of our masculine names have this US ending. And those, again, will change to a long I when they are plural. So you've seen a few of those as well. And then third declension is the weird one. In the singular nominative, there's kind of a bunch of options it could be. It could end in S, It could end in X or L or R. There's a whole bunch of options for the singular third declension nominative forms, but all third declension nouns in the nominative plural will end in this long ES, so that's nice. First declension nouns are usually feminine. There's a few exceptions there. Second declension nouns are usually masculine from what we've seen. There are neuter second declension nouns. We've only seen a couple of those. And then third declension can be any of the grammatical genders, masculine, feminine, or neuter. And there are some patterns for recognizing those, which I think I've talked about with you guys before. We'll practice some more of that later. But all right, so this is our nominative. So these are our endings for if a Latin word is your subject. So these are the singular endings. And again, remember, if it's not A or US, there's kind of a bunch of options there. But our plural endings, we have AE, a long I, and then that long ES. So these are all our endings for if a noun is the subject. So some examples we have here. For the first declension, right? Melissa inculina laborat. So Melissa, right? She's our subject. We see that nominative singular. She's just one person. Melissa is working or works in the kitchen, right? And the next one, we have a plural example. Ancillai in horto sunt. So ancillai, this is from our noun ancilla, meaning slave girl. And this AE ending is our nominative plural. So this is the slave girls, plural, are in the garden. And we can also look at our verb. That NT ending also tells us that this is a plural verb, so our subject must also be plural. So your subjects and your verbs are going to match up in that sense. Some second declension examples. We have servus ridet, right, with that US singular ending. So the slave, singular, laughs or is laughing. And then in the plural, we have amici, that long I. So this is a nominative plural ending. Amici in taberna biberunt. So the friends, plural, word or drank. This is a perfect tense, drank in the tavern. Like we saw on our test, right? Caecilius and his friend were drinking in the tavern, and that got Grumio. I got Grumio into a little bit of trouble in the last chapter. All right, third declension, we have mercator et senex. So I gave you guys two singular nouns here in the third declension nominative, just to show you some of the alternate endings. So we have mercator with that OR ending, and then senex, we have an X ending here. So like I said, third declension, there's a few different options for our singular endings. Mercator et senex in via stant. So the merchant and the old man are in the street. And then third declension plural, like I said, will end in a long ES. So mercator plural would be mercatores, senex plural would be senes. The stems can get a little tricky with third declension, but basically if you see a long ES, it's plural. So the dogs here are sleeping in the atrium. All right. Oh, stant is standing. They are standing in the road. All right, so those are some examples of our nominative endings. So these are subjects. So these are all forms, endings that will be used with nouns in the subject. So then let's talk about the accusative. So up until this point, we've only really seen accusative singulars. So singular direct objects. So accusative, right? Here's an example. We have amicus ancillam salutat. In the second declension, dominus servum vituperat. And then Caecilius mercatorem laudavit. So in our first declension, we have this example ancillam, right? So the friend greets the slave girl, right? So slave girl is our direct object here. She's singular. Dominus vituperat, the master curses the slave, servum, singular, the slave. And then Caecilius laudavit, praises the merchant. And again, this is a singular direct object. Our direct objects receive the action of the verb. So those are some of our singular endings. First declension has that AM, second declension is UM, and third declension is EM. So up until this point, if you've seen an M ending on a noun, that's your clue that it's the accusative. So they just have a different vowel before that M, but all of our accusative singulars will end in the letter M. So that's a nice little hint there. So again, in this chapter, we are introduced to the accusative plural now. So it's just 3 new endings that we have to learn here. So for our first declension, like I said, the singular is am, right? So you've got that a, that's kind of like the key vowel for first declension. In the nominative, it was a in the singular and ae in the plural. And in the accusative, we have am, and then in the singular, and then in the plural, it's a long as. So again, that kind of key a, we just have a new little ending there for the plural form. Then second declension, right? Again, the singular is going to end in m. Just in second declension, it is um. And then in the plural, it's going to change to an os, right? A long os. So this will be our plural. And then in the third declension, the singular, as we've seen, is em, and the plural is a long es. So third declension is interesting because the nominative and accusative plural actually have the same ending. So this is the one where that can be a little bit tricky to get used to because the nominative plural and accusative plural are the same. And this happens sometimes in Latin where the same ending will cover a few different functions. So you have to pay attention to kind of context clues. And this is where the Latin patterns in word order can help you out as well. So if you already have a subject in a sentence and you're looking for a direct object, then the es might be your direct object, things like that. So usually context clues will clarify whether it's your subject or your direct object if it ends in a long es. But you do see in our accusative plurals, we've got those s endings. So there's kind of a pattern here. This, and we still, again, here we have the a. In the third declension, we have that e vowel staying constant. In second declension, the u becomes an o. Second declension u's and o's. It's kind of both of those vowels work together in different endings. So these are our three new endings that we're going to start seeing on some of our nouns. So make sure you have all of these endings written down. I will post these slides separately so you can go back and take notes on your nominative and your accusative endings for all three declensions. Make sure you have them down and they're labeled clearly. These are the ones you're going to start wanting to pay attention to. So we really need to start making sure that we're paying attention to whether our subjects and direct objects are singular or plural. So start keeping that in mind as you are reading and translating. So you'll see this in our model sentences. You're going to see some examples of our accusative plurals. So make sure when you're translating your model sentences, you are paying attention to those endings and translating them accordingly. For a little bit of bonus practice, this is not an assignment. It's not required, mostly because I don't really have any way of checking it other than you guys taking screenshots, which can get a little complicated, but highly encouraged that you do this. It's not going to be for a grade or anything, but I highly encourage you to try these exercises on Cambridge Elevate. Go to stage 8, right? That's where we're at now. Scroll down to where it says language activities. And then there's a few sorting words exercises. So there's cases 1, cases 2, and cases 3. So try all 3 of these exercises. They're quick. They won't take you very long to do. You could probably do all 3 of them in like 20 minutes or less, depending on if you have your notes for those noun endings or how well you study them ahead of time. So try out these exercises to practice identifying all of your new noun endings, the accusative plurals, and to refresh your memory for all of your other endings, nominative singulars and plurals, and accusative singulars. So try these out, see if you can kind of start getting the hang of recognizing and identifying the different case endings. And then again, your assignment for this week is your model sentences for stage 8. I've posted them in a Google Doc for you guys on Google Classroom. I do advise having the webbook open to those while you're working on your translations because the images can help a bit as you're working through those. So have those done by Monday. Monday's a holiday, so I think I put it for being due Monday, but just make sure you have them done before by Tuesday morning. If you have school on Tuesday, please have it done before then. So get that done, get that taken care of. Please let me know if you have any questions about this grammar. It's, again, not a ton of crazy stuff, not like all of our verb tenses we've learned in the past 2 chapters, so it's a little less complicated. We only have 3 new endings to really worry about, but it has been a while since we've really focused on our nouns. So let me know if you have any questions or if you're at all confused about nouns, just because we haven't done a ton with them in the last couple chapters. We've been so focused on verbs. So that is all I have for you guys today. I know kind of went through that a little quickly, but again, hopefully not too much new information for you guys. So just practice those 3 new noun endings for your accusative plurals when you're translating your model sentences. Just make sure you're paying attention to those, okay? All right, so as always, email me if you have any questions, if you need to set up an additional Zoom meeting to go over anything. Otherwise, I will see most of you guys in class next week. Enjoy your 4-day weekend, and I will see you all later. Wale te discipuli.